Hello, and welcome to Writing Tips with Rachel. Today I'm answering the question, how many drafts do you need to tell a story? I have a super helpful answer for this one. It depends. Let me explain. Some of my books only took 4 or so drafts. I know that saying only 4 will freak some people out. You will read your book lots and lots of times, and you have to really love it to do that. Some of my books have taken me 7 or 8 drafts. A couple have taken more than 10. It really does depend on the story. My book that published in May, The First Magnificent Summer, took so many drafts, I never thought I'd be done with it. I wrote the first draft in prose, and then poetry, and then prose, and then back to poetry, with a little humor added in. The 5th draft morphed back into prose with some humor, and the 6th draft became journal entries with poetry and humor. This format stuck for the next 3 drafts. That's right, 3 drafts. And those weren't the last drafts. Nope. There were 2 more drafts. 11 total. This book took me the longest to write of any of my books, and it's not the longest book. Some books are like that. Writing them can be a lot. Time, energy, focus. But compare that to the book's sequel, The Second Magnificent Summer, which will publish in the summer of 2024. It only took 6 months and 3 drafts. Part of the reason for that is some stories are easier to tell than others. Sequels and subsequent books can be easier because you know so much about the characters. They're almost like your children. You can predict what they'll do from scene to scene. Although my kids like to argue that they were not going to do that. They weren't even thinking about it. Another part of the reason some books are easier than others is that the more we write, the better we get at it. Although I will say, that doesn't always translate to fewer drafts, especially when getting better at what we do also means getting better at recognizing the things that are wrong with our manuscripts. So, how do we know how many drafts a story needs if it depends on the story? Here's the answer. We have to get really honest with ourselves about the states of our manuscripts. As writers, we generally know when something is finished and when it's not quite there. Sometimes it's a little tricky to figure out, but we usually have a sense of unease in our gut if there's still work to be done on whatever we're writing. But here are some more practical ways to know if whatever you're writing needs more work. Number 1, it's a first draft. This is an obvious statement. But you'd be surprised how many young writers I meet who wonder if a first draft can ever be the draft. I don't like absolutes, but I do have strong feelings about this. I don't think anybody can write their best book, or best anything really, in one draft. Nothing comes out perfectly the first time. Our first drafts are places to explore what we want to say and how we want to say it. Our second, third, fourth, okay, it can just be second if you're going to fight me on this. Drafts are the places where we analyze, tighten, and perfect everything. Number 2, there are still places where you're shaky on details. These details can be plot points, or character personality traits, or themes, or the points you're trying to make, or even the beginnings and endings of chapters. Reaching the end of whatever you've written should leave you with a solid grasp of your plot, your characters, your structure, your word choice, your title, your settings, what you want to say, etc. If there are any questions in your mind, like, does her sarcasm come through on the page? Did I end this chapter in a place where people would want to read more? Does his motivation make sense in light of his actions? Have I said what needs saying in an understandable and the clearest way? Did I use too many words to say it? It could be worthwhile to give it another draft. Number 3, you have an unshakable feeling that something's not quite right. This is honestly one of my least favorite ways to figure out a story needs another draft, because many times it's something we as writers just can't put our finger on. We just know there's something, that the book probably needs another draft. This is where it's helpful to use other readers. Writer friends, or if you're fortunate enough to have one, an agent who doesn't mind reading a draft. Sometimes the perspective of another trusted professional can illuminate the exact solution the next draft needs to get your piece into publishable shape. I hope some of these suggestions are helpful to you. I'd love to know some of the ways you know when a draft is finished. And I'll leave you with 2 very important questions I ask myself anytime I write something, whether it's a piece of marketing content, a newsletter, a short story, a poem, or a 65,000-word novel. What do I want to say? Have I said it? That's it for today's Writing Tips with Rachel. I hope these tips have been helpful to you. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for videos about books and life and more videos like this. Thanks for watching.